The crew of the Essex. It is uncommon knowledge that the story of Moby Dick is inspired by true events. However, where Moby Dick ends, the story of the crew of the Essex continues and becomes a horrifying tale of men stranded at sea and turning to cannibalism to survive. In November 1820, the whaling ship Essex had found good hunting grounds in the Pacific, and the small boats were out hunting when an 85-foot sperm whale made directly for the Essex, ramming the ship twice and causing irreparable damage. Captain Pollard, who was out with the boats hunting whales, returned to the Essex and asked his first mate, Owen Chase, what had happened. "We have been stove by a whale," Chase replied. The decision was made to abandon the ship, and in a bizarre and ironic turn of fate, they decided to head south instead of to the nearest islands, as they believed the latter would be inhabited by cannibals. The crew piled into the boats and left the sinking Essex behind. Salt water saturated the bread, and the scorching sun beat down on them unmercifully. After 2 weeks, they spotted Henderson Island, but it was barren. Still, 3 crew members decided to stay on the island rather than climb back into the boats. A storm struck, and Owen Chase's boat got separated. After eating one of their dead crewmates, they were rescued by a British brig. The other 2 boats fared worse. On one of the boats, 3 men were eaten before the 2 remaining boats were separated. A whaleboat with 3 skeletons was later found on Ducie Island, but it was never established if it was from the Essex. The ship with Captain Pollard had the hardest decision. They drew straws to see who would be shot and eaten. Pollard ended up eating his own cousin. When they were finally rescued, only 2 men remained, one of which was Pollard. The men were crazed from their ordeal and barely registered that they were being rescued when the American whaler Dauphin showed up. They continued sucking on bones as they drew near the ship. They were pulled aboard, stuffed bones into their pockets. The 3 men who stayed on Henderson Island were later rescued, and the survivors of the incident were all reunited. In 2015, a movie retelling this harrowing story, In the Heart of the Sea, starring Chris Hemsworth and Cillian Murphy, was released.